factors that influence curriculum development. What do you understand by that? We talked about implementation of curriculum, whereby we say that when we are talking about curriculum implementation, we are talking of putting or acting or working out the plans, suggestions that have been made by the curriculum specialists. Or in other words, the process of putting the formal curriculum into practice. So we had a development team which was developing the curriculum, remember? So after the development has taken place, everything else has been put between pages. It is now time for it to go out and be implemented, or it has to be taught. Now, after this first group have put everything together, and they have, the facilitators have been trained, teachers have been trained, teachers have also trained their fellow teachers. It's now time to start using these things in the various classrooms. Now the question is, what are some of the factors that are going to affect the implementation of the curriculum? So we looked at the teacher factor, we looked at the learner factor. We said a teacher plays a part in the implementation of curriculum. A learner also plays a part in the implementation of a curriculum. And apart from the two, there are several other factors. So I gave you, using the same examples, I gave you other factors so that you should go find out how can these factors affect the implementation of curriculum. So what I was expecting from you is, suppose Bison has got culture and ideology, right? Remember, we also explained what causes curriculum change. We said when the world is changing, it also affects curriculum. Curriculum can change because of the way the world is changing. We agreed on that one. So suppose that curriculum is changing because of the changing world. And some of the changes that are happening in the world, there is a certain group of people that are not believing in the change. It is going to affect the implementation. Remember, he defined what culture and ideology is. So if I don't believe in something else, but yet my child is being taught in class, that is going to have an effect. So parents, or even the learners themselves, but since we are talking about early childhood, these ones may not really have an influence. But the parents, the moment they know what their children are learning, they can do something about it, and the implementation can be affected as well. Even to the teacher who is teaching, if they are teaching something that's against what they believe, against their culture, remember we say it is in the power of the teacher to choose, to select what they are teaching, right? So they will end up teaching here, leave this, teach that, jump that, teach that. Why? Because they don't, their culture doesn't condone that. His or her ideologies are not in one thing with whatever the curriculum wants them to teach. So this is going to affect implementation of curriculum. So this is what I was expecting from you. So at least Wazy gave us something. She was talking about, I actually wrote a few sentences. Importance of assessment. And then she talked about why assessment is important. So the part where she was talking about the importance of assessment, that's where now we can take out the answer to say how can assessment contribute or help in implementation of curriculum. So if I can throw it back to you before I explain in details all those factors that I gave you, how can assessment influence or help in implementation of curriculum? When we are talking about assessment, what are we talking about? Maybe let's start from there. Assessment. Here we've got mid-term, mid-semester assessments, right? How many times are you assessed here? Or what are the kinds of assessments that we have? There is end of semester assessment, there is mid-semester assessment, then you've got the assignments, right? even when you are presenting here, I am also assessing you. So when someone is being assessed, what comes out of the assessment gives an idea of what is happening, just like what has happened here. I gave you this to work out, and then you came here and you've given me all sorts of stuff. So I have assessed to say maybe learning is taking place or learning is not happening, or it's simply because you went out there and you forgot about this assignment and you never touched it. So you're here and you're trying to go on your Google, trying to find information when someone is presenting. So, assessment, let's start with the first one, which is culture and ideology. I want to talk about it in detail. Culture and ideology. The differences between culture and ideology can influence our curriculum, because sometimes some communities may resist a domineering culture or government ideology. Domineering coming from the word dominant. Cultural and ideological differences within a society or a country can influence curriculum implementation. How? One, some communities may resist a domineering culture. A certain community can resist a domineering culture or government ideology. So that can affect the implementation of a centrally planned curriculum. Communities may resist a domineering culture or government ideology, hence affecting the implementation of a centrally planned curriculum. Remember, we said there was a time in primary schools we used to learn Bible knowledge. And then people said, no, why should we learn Bible knowledge when we don't believe in the Bible? We believe in A, B, C, D, and then we changed to religious education, whereby there are different types of religions that are studied under that. So, if it happens the other way around, then this is what we are talking about. The community may not be, or the community may resist a certain culture that seems to be dominating within the learning circles. So that is going to affect the implementation of the